You can proceed in fear or in faith. You are a person and you are coming from one of the two. You are entering every situation from one of the two. Every situation. I'm gonna enter this situation in a place of faith, and I'm gonna trust that it's gonna work out just as it needs to, or I'm terrified. I don't know how it's going to go. And people don't understand how binary that conversation is in your brain. And I'm just somebody, I'm so proud that a long time ago I said, you know what, fear is so much, to me, you know what fear is? Outside of physical threat. Physical threat is real, okay? Physical threat is real. But outside of physical fear, threat of safety, right? Outside of physical fear, most fear is just poor management of the mind. Write it down. Most fear is just poor management of the mind. I am not utilizing this brain to see this in a positive, confident, faithful light. And as soon as I can use this brain to see this and write this down in a positive, confident, faithful light, I do that to myself. Anytime I feel worry or fear, and trust me, I feel it, emotions are automatic. They're from the body often. They're impulsive, unregulated. They happen immediately, they're in, and often they're out. Most research shows an emotion rises and it's gone and dissipated within 2 minutes, but you feel it. So I feel it, and I don't choose to hang on to it and grab it and hug it and claim it and say that's me. And some of you did that with fear. You got scared a few times in your life, and you grabbed it, and you held on to it too long, and you integrate it, and now it's you. And you say, I'm just afraid all the time. I am just afraid all the time. Be careful of putting a negative statement after the word I am. If you put a negative statement after I am, you are building a negative personality. In spiritual texts, we would also say that you are also offending the divine, because I am is how God claimed himself. I am that I am. So you say I am, and you put something negative behind it, that's offending you, and that is offending something bigger than you. At least that's how spirituality people would say. And so I want you to be attentive to that. I'm just afraid. I'm an afraid person. I'm always afraid. No, you're not. You're managing this bad. Remember, there's a difference between practices and personhood. Many of you guys know, like the Motivation Manifesto, we've given that to prisons all over the country, and I would love if any of you could help us give it around the world. Thank you, yeah. And I remember the first time I was in lockup, and I was like trying to work through this concept a little bit, and it was really hard because people take the identity that they're terrible, right? I am this terrible person. No. You did something really bad, right? There's a practice. There's just like many of you, you're like, I'm terrible in my relationships. No, you don't have any practices, skill sets of how to be great in relationships. I'm terrible at friendship. I have no friends. No, you have no friendship skills yet. It's skill set, it's practices. Well, I think that we have to realize that this fear, that we all think fear is this big thing, and I always go, oh, no, really, you just have to choose, okay, I am going to proceed now and see this in a positive light, in a confident light, in a faithful light. It's kind of like that just intention you have to set up to enter it and to trust the process and to flow with it a little bit more. And to know nothing has to be perfectly architected. It just has to be in motion. And when you realize the world and the universe works like that, it's beautiful, right? It's beautiful. There is nothing you see in nature that is perfectly architected. It's just in motion, and it's happening, and it's growing. And when it's growing, sometimes it's ugly. You ever see a flower grow? It's super ugly, right? It comes out, looks like this in the ground, right? Sometimes the bulbs are facing down, you're like, it's squirreled up and around, you're like, what's going on? Then all of a sudden, bam, it's like, oh, wow, that's amazing. It's that ugly caterpillar into that beautiful butterfly. It's a process. Nothing in the middle of the process looks that great. And so you just have to say, oh, I'm gonna go engage this process positively, confidently with faith that it'll turn out just as it needs to turn out. I would tell you that will give you superpower. Everyone's like, how are you so relaxed, Brendon? I'm like, oh, I chose an identity that isn't fear-based, that's faith-based. And I'll acknowledge in this room, not a lot of people in this room have religion. Not a lot of people in this room are of a spiritual, background or upbringing, or spirituality is not a high value for them, or they might not feel a connection to energy, universe, divine, God, whatever it is. So I get that. I know that's a unique thing to me, but even when I'm saying faith, you understand I'm not saying faith in God only. When I'm saying faith, it's trust that things will turn out well. That you have faith, you believe that it's going to be okay. Could you imagine entering the day that way? See, I work with, some of you guys know I had the blessing of working with a lot of monks. And a funny story was, one time I was working with a very stressed monk, very stressed. And he'd been called to another level of service, and I mean, really high level of service, and was very stressed about the situation. And I was observing it, and it's this funny story, but what I noticed was you can have someone meditate, and you can have somebody learn all the skills of life, but if they don't enter the situation faithfully, all the breathing activities and all the meditation won't do it. It's a frame of reference of life. If your dominant frame is, this is gonna turn out just great, I'm gonna engage it, right? Because notice where I'm teaching this. If you put that slide back up for me, you'll notice where I'm teaching it. There's a reason I'm teaching it here. If I know that things are building me up, if I know that I'm intentional, I'm on offense here, I'm gonna approach the situation, I'm gonna approach it faithfully, it's gonna turn out well. If I can do all these things, that's why it looks so graceful. That's why it looks like he's gliding. It's why it looks, she or he has no cares in the world. Oh, they do. They just didn't freak themselves out in advance. Raise your hand if I'm saying. Okay, so now you're gonna close your eyes one more time with me, and you're gonna do the thing on the heart again, and you're gonna say to yourself, I am going to stop freaking myself out. I am going to stop freaking myself out. I am going to stop freaking myself out. Open your eyes. Remember, fear is mostly poor management of your mind. And you must stop having fear as a frame. When you anticipate things are going to cause fear, when you fearfully see something, you will not approach. You will avoid. And as you fearfully see something, I'm so scared to get up on stage. No, trust when you get up there, you will serve. Two different things. Fear, 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 fear. Back, 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 back. And you wonder, why did 5 years go by and I've been so timid? Because you saw fear in advance, not faith in advance, right? Those who are of spirit or of biblical training, you know it, he precedes you. Oh, that's one of my favorite lines. I was like, oh, he precedes me? Right? I was like, wait, there's goodness and planning in advance? Oh, let me walk right in that stream. That's a lot easier than, right? I was like, oh, okay. There's something precedes me. Okay, I like that idea. I don't know. And even if you don't like that idea, from a biblical nature, think about that faith and that trust of the caterpillar. Trusting in the process of nature. Trusting in evolution. That when I go in and I hunker down and I trust in process, I'm gonna come out better. What an unbelievable act of faith. To go from the wanderer to, in closing, trusting and focusing so that I can bloom, that's faith. That's a big trust. I'm gonna enclose myself. I'm gonna go into my room and I'm gonna write this book, not knowing what's gonna go on out there, and I'm gonna trust that this thing's gonna come out. Could you imagine the faith in that? Could you imagine? hope you can. When to quit the wrong thing. This is a big topic. So many people are in moments of transition in their life. They're trying to make big decisions for their future. They're trying to improve their life, but as you try to do that, some big decisions come aboard. You know, do I stay in this place, in this town, in this relationship, in this job, in this opportunity? Do I quit and go on to something that's more right for me? Do I shift up what I'm trying to do to another level? But that often requires leaving one level to another. And of course, the age-old personal development question is, do you stay committed and grit and grind it out and honor the struggle? Or do you cut bait, move on? Big, difficult life questions. And so I think you're going to enjoy this session here today. Quitting anything is ultimately a decision-making process. And because most people have never done a deep dive into decision-making processes, they get stuck. See, most people, when they're stuck, they're not really just stuck in an emotional level. They're stuck. They don't know how to think through a major problem in their life. And so when you have a major dilemma or problem in your life and you don't know how to think through it, then what you do is you just go, I don't want to deal with it. So you procrastinate on the decision. You put it off. You tell yourself stories. You disengage from it. And that's why some people who maybe should have quit, you know, a job, a career, a relationship 5-10 years ago are still stuck in it, even though they actually know the decision they needed to make. They just couldn't get themselves mentally through that decision-making process to the point where it became both logical and emotional and social to make that decision, to execute on it. And I don't say this in a judgmental way today. My job as a coach, especially a certified high-performance coach, is to challenge you a little bit, but also to be real. I mean, how many of you have ever been that place? You should have stopped something years ago, but you didn't. So I see, at least in the Zoom rooms, lots of people raising their hands. There's absolutely no judgment to that. The worst thing you can do is shame yourself for not having taken an action at some point in your life. Because anything you apply shame to only solidifies the chance that you'll do that dumb thing again, right? Because now you even feel worse about it. So don't shame yourself thinking, oh my gosh, I didn't do that thing I should have, or I could have quit. No. Meet yourself where you're at today. You have a fresh and a clean chapter in this moment of your life, whether you know it or not, whether you acknowledge or not. There's a blank page today, and there'll be a blank page tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. Like, the beauty of life is that extraordinary personal power that is free will to change, to adapt, to level up, to make decisions today that maybe we should have made, but now we're ready. Now we're in a different mindset. We're in a different place of strength and courage. And my hope for you is that you make the decisions in your life from that place, that intentional, strong, courageous place. Most people who don't make the decision for themselves, they're stuck in fear. I'll just kind of share how I get in the conversation. Again, I'm going to keep referencing that I'm doing this as I would have a conversation with you if you were a coaching client. Some of you guys know, by the way, if you like to do what I do, if you'd like to become a certified high performance coach, we have a certification coming up, I think next month. So yeah, next month. So make sure, if this is of interest to you, check that out. Maybe you'll learn, like, oh, this is kind of how coaching might look like in my life. It's really about having conversations with your clients to help them discover where they're at and what's right for them, but also determine and decide what to do. Okay, with all that context, let's jump in to this conversation. All right, let's imagine that you're working with a friend or a client and they tell you they want to quit something. Where do you start that conversation? Right? Where do you start that conversation? Isn't that an interesting question? Well, There's a lot of different ways. Of course, you might say, well, why? What's going on? Well, we'll get to that point too. I like to always start with a high expectation of my client or my customer to be intentional. So the first thing when someone tells me this, I want to just get into their head right away. Because as a coach, I might only have an hour with this person to work through a major life thing. So I want to jump right in. I'm going to make some assumptions. You might not do this in your coaching, your friendships, but let me just jump in right now. The very first question that I might ask when someone tells me they want to quit something is I'm going to ask this question. Is this decision you're about to make strategy or discouragement? Meaning, are you thinking about quitting the thing because strategically you've thought through it and it's the right next bold move for you, your family, your career, your future? Or do you just feel discouraged? Right? Is it a logical thing, like you've sequentially thought this decision out, or do you just feel bad right now? Are you just discouraged because you've tried for a while and it's not turning out? Are you discouraged because you got some negative feedback? Are you discouraged because you got some rejected? Are you discouraged because you're disempowered in that relationship or that job or that career? And a place of discouragement is not the same as empowerment. And we have to be aware of that. Sometimes you just like, I met so many people who they just were so convinced, Brendon, I got to get a divorce. And I said, okay, that's a big decision. Quitting on a matrimonial commitment, like that's a big deal. Okay, let's think through that. And by the way, many times they're completely right. And many times they're just hurt. They're sad. They feel disconnected and discouraged in the relationship. But that feeling of discouragement doesn't mean the relationship is dead. Does this make sense? I'm sure you all been there before, right? You're just like, you're having a bad month. You're having a bad quarter. You're having a bad week. And you're just like, you're down on yourself or the relationship or the job. And in that discouragement, often people go, well, screw it, right? They just get fed up and they just say the F word, like, F it, I'm out. And that's just it's coming from a place of emotional, distraught feelings where it's like, I'm so tired of this. I'm so hurt because of this. I'm so discouraged of it. Screw it. And whether you call it discouragement or frustration or anger or fed up, whatever that feeling is, I'm going to use the word just discouragement. It's an emotional place that we're coming in. And by the way, all decisions have a major emotional component. Most people actually make the biggest decisions in their life from a place of emotion, not just logic and strategy. But what I want to know at the very beginning of the conversation is just, where are we? Have you been thinking through this? This is the strategic right move for you and your family, your life, your career? Or are we just kind of in a fed up place, a hurt place, a discouraged place? Because some people, they don't need to quit the thing. They need to learn to manage their emotions. That's a very different thing. Because many people, they're in the right thing, but they're lacking that emotional connection or emotional intelligence to deal with the realities of it. I'll give you an example. I don't know who's ever had a hard job before. Like, it was hard and you were failing and you sucked, or maybe you started your own business and the first year, it was terrible. You felt like a failure the whole time. People are like, why are you doing that? Spending your time there. The neighbor's making fun of you, talking behind your back, and you're like trying to get it going and you're putting so much into it and it's not happening. It's discouraging. And you go, I'll quit this opportunity. I'm just going to quit this effort. I'm going to quit my dream. Well, the reality is maybe the dream was strategically the right decision. The opportunity was strategically a good bet. But what happened was you got emotionally hooked. And your feelings of how you're dealing with that difficulty made you make a decision to throw out the thing, when really, if it was the right thing, you needed to learn to manage your emotions better. That's really hard, right? And so knowing that, if that's true, what I just said, That's a conversation I'd want to have with my coaching client. Like, where's this coming from? Just trying to understand, is this a strategic choice or an impulsive decision driven by emotional management? I just want to know that. Like, where am I coming in onto this conversation in your head? Is this a conversation that's been going on in your head strategically? Or is this a feeling in your heart that's an impulse? Even if that impulse is, what people might call, intuition or higher guidance, I still just want to know, where are we here? Because one of the hardest things as a coach, I'm always telling people, is like, don't make a lot of decisions from a place of discouragement. Beware of that. Discouragement equals disempowerment. I want you to be in a good place, a good state of mind, a thoughtful and a strategic mindset before you just throw out the thing, quit the relationship, quit the job, quit the dream, especially if it's right. If you're in the right place or the right relationship or the right job or the right career or the right industry, the right moment, just because it feels bad doesn't mean you should quit, right? In every relationship, there's going to be a time when it feels bad. In every new startup, every new entrepreneurial idea, every company, there'll be times when it just feels bad. That's life. The strategic mind has to say, okay, even though this feels bad, if I'm in the right place, can I learn to honor the struggle? Can I learn to turn that discouragement into curiosity or even interest? Can I learn to take that disempowering feeling and find a way to bring joy into this thing that right now kind of sucks? I remember, and this applies at the most simplistic levels in our lives. It really does. How discouragement allows us to quit things. I'll give an example. Have any of you ever applied for a mortgage? Anyone ever gone through? How about any entrepreneurs? If you've been an entrepreneur and applied, if you're an entrepreneur and you've applied for a mortgage, that is a particular kind of hell. They don't believe in you. They don't trust your income. You might earn more than your neighbor. They don't believe you. It's an awful process. I've been through it multiple times in my life. And every time I'm like, after the fifth call or the millionth request of a document that's stupid, I get discouraged. I get angry. I get fed up with it. I go, I'm out. Well, it's right for me to keep trying to get that mortgage for us to get the house. That's a strategic right decision. We chose the city, we chose the house, but I get discouraged in the process and I'm like, screw this. And I want to quit. And Denise, my wife, she's always like, it's just paperwork. We'll get through it. Let me help you with it, or let's do this. And she'll save the day. Because for me, paperwork is a lot of pain. So you see how that's so small as an example? Such a small, simple thing. You quit things that are just paperwork things to get you towards your dreams. Think about that. Think about how many times you've just thought, I don't want to fill out this loan application. I don't want to have to reach out to them. What you do is you get discouraged, frustrated, or fed up with the process, and that emotional thing has you quit the thing that is required to get the strategic good outcome. And as soon as you realize that, like, whoa, I'm just giving up. I'm giving up on the right thing because I feel the wrong way. You really got to get your head around this one. Like, this is a major decision, right, in your life. You want to be thoughtful and strategic and intentional about it, not impulsive or acting from discouragement. Now, I know therapists on the line who's, Brendon, oh my God, you're such a terrible coach. Don't you realize that people, should listen to that discouragement? I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely. I just don't want you to live there or make all your decisions from that place. You can listen to discouragement. You can feel fed up. Notice I'm not taking away the emotion. The whole goal is here, where are we coming from? We're trying to seek awareness. I'm okay if you feel it. We're in fact going to go deeper into the conversation about what the pain really is, or what our awareness to our circumstances. We'll go there. But as a coach, I like to go right here because I've learned so many times that when people first propose quitting a marriage, a relationship, a job, an opportunity, their first proposal of, this is stupid, I'm going to quit, is impulsive, not strategic. And I, again, as a coach, when they first throw it at me, I want to know where they're at. Okay. So if we can just start with that framing, it's going to help me get through this. You'll hear me use the term discouragement quite a bit. Again, you might call it frustrated, fed up, overwhelmed, stressed, anxious, mad, angry. There's a lot that goes into it, but those to me are a disempowering place to make the decision for what's right, to make the decision to quit something.
How many of you in this room actually know already how to improve your life? You already know where to focus on your life, and you probably know what to do, but you haven't done it yet. Be honest, raise your hands. Okay, about half the room of truth tellers, and half the room, I'll just pretend you didn't hear the questions. Because who knows exactly what you need to do to change already? Right? People say, I want to lose weight, Brendon. I don't know why. I haven't lost weight. I'll say, do you know how? Yes. Have you gone to the gym? So people know what to do. It's that they failed to do it. That essence is called common sense. We know what to do. But the failure in the practice comes from a failure sometimes of will, sometimes of circumstance, sometimes of something. But here's what I'd love you to do. If you're failing to implement something you know you should already do, please tune in. If you are failing to implement something you already know you can do, your vision for your life is stuck to today. Your vision is stuck to yesterday. Because if you have a different vision for your life and you know what to do, and that vision is compelling, that vision is something that is real and important and exciting for you, guess what? You do it. If it's a fake vision, a half vision, a mimicry vision, a follow the leader vision, not your vision, that's why you're not doing the basics, right? If you haven't lost the weight, you don't have a vision for your life healthfully yet. You want to lose pounds, but you haven't envisioned a healthy life. So even the commonsensical things, you don't do it, right? Who has eaten a friggin' bag of chips in the last 30 days? A whole bag of chips. Who ate that bag of chips at one sitting? Who ate the bag of chips in one sitting and had to fight not to open the second bag? Okay, who opened the second bag? Anybody? Okay. I'm just making sure you're all being real here. But let's go, it's not just health. Think about that dream you have. You know you wanted to write. Like my dream was to be a writer and a coach, right? I want to be a writer and I want to be a life coach or business coach. Okay, cool. That's what I wanted to do. Common sense says, Brendon, sit down and write every day. But I didn't see it yet. I didn't visualize that vision and own that dream yet. It was an idea, but it wasn't a vision in my heart. I didn't see it, feel it, walk through it. I remember I said, one day, I'm going to be comfortable talking to people. Because this is not how I came out of the womb. I know for a very long time, I was talking to people and speaking on a stage, especially one that big, no, thank you, ma'am. Not of an interest. And then I said, well, you know what? If I really want to make a difference in the world, I have to communicate better. I really have to get better at that. And so I would lay in bed every morning, and I would lay there and I would visualize myself, see a vision of my future on a stage. And I would see myself walk into one side and saying something amazing, and they would stand on their feet because I said something amazing. And then I went to the other side and I said something equally amazing. And all the amazing just kept coming out. And people would stand and they would shout and they would scream and I would see it. And as I was visualizing that vision of myself, guess what? I would be sitting in bed in complete anxiety. I'd be sweating out the armpits. You ever dream of your vision of your future and it makes you sweat? Hey, oh, I am weird, okay. Are you all here? Say, I'm here. You've never seen a vision of your future and it kind of freaked you out? If you haven't, you're not dreaming big enough yet, babe. If something in the future doesn't scare the shit out of you, forgive my language, you haven't even started dreaming. If something in the future doesn't scare you, like, ooh, see, if I want to be a public speaker and I don't think of a stage that big and I don't sweat, I better think of a bigger stage until I start sweating, right? To allow that discomfort, that vision that's bigger, because that's sometimes, look, we'll talk about willpower, we'll talk about confidence, we'll talk about discipline, but I'm here to tell you a lot of the reason people don't take daily, real, practical, common sense efforts towards their dreams is they don't see the dream yet. They haven't laid awake and thought about it long enough. They thought, wouldn't that be nice? There's a difference between wouldn't that be nice and I own this dream. It is in my heart, it is in my legs, it is in my body. I feel it, I sense it, that's mine, let's go. You don't luck into that. You decide what you want and you see it and you visualize it and you step into it mentally, day after day after day. And people say, oh, well, Brendon, what if it doesn't come true? I'm like, oh, babe, it's highly likely it won't. But who taught you it was about the destination? Didn't we all learn it's about the journey? Turn to the person left, right, shake them, say, it's about the journey. It's about the journey. One of the reasons common practice isn't common practice is because it is so common. It's mundane efforts every day. Common practice. It's just same thing. It doesn't look like a lot, doesn't feel like a lot. It's little inches, steps forward, incremental advancement. It's not sexy. We want the destination. And in the day when we don't feel the destination, we're like, ugh, I dream of the big stage, but then my first stage is that little room you all saw. And some people would go, oh, well, that's not it. And I say, oh, of course. Gonna start small. Keep trying, keep getting better. Learn to talk to people, get out of my weird shell. Not be so awkward and just try to, get many words out in a row. It wasn't like, oh, one day I'm going to speak in front of, this and that and arenas. That happened and I could see it and I forced myself to see it, but I would take the common everyday practices because the visions were mine. They were my dreams. Don't think one day you'll have a vision and become so strong. See a little bit of the vision and keep visualizing it. Keep visualizing it. Keep seeing it. Keep visualizing. Every morning for like 3 years, I would lay there and imagine myself talking better. Imagine myself on stage, working the stage, getting away from the podium, right? You don't see a podium. There's nothing up here. There's not a chair up here at all. I got 38 feet to work here, and then I got another mile to lap the room. I'm gonna work it. I had to see myself walking. That's weird. Okay, yeah, walk, Brendon, move. You have to see this stuff. You all with me so far? Don't think the vision has to be complete. The vision has to be tapped every day. Tap into it, see it, think about it, see it, think about it, see it, think about it. And it comes into more formation. Everyone wants their vision, their dream, delivered as a complete Netflix package. I'm like, that's not how it goes. You see a little piece of it and you observe it and play it out. See another piece, observe it, think it out, observe it, think it out, observe it, think it out.
Now I want to share with you what I call the ladder of perception. It's just a way of understanding how your mind works. So often we go through the day, something happens and it turns us into a bad mood. And for the rest of the day, we're kind of wrecked and ruined and upset and frustrated. And it's not until we go home, have 5 glasses of wine that we finally chill out, right? So what can you do in the middle of the day to get yourself back? It's just helping you understand, well, how do your thoughts work?
How is it you're getting into these times in your life where you're just emotionally so upset or so frustrated, or you feel like you're just not in control? And how can we use that same reasoning to figure out how can you shape a more positive mindset? Because we all want to feel better, right? We want to have more positive thoughts. It's just hard when the day is crazy. We all want to have a lot more buoyancy and vibrancy and pop to our life, but it's hard when we keep taking in so much information that's not always positive, right? So this is going to be a way to explain how to get you in a better mindset. And it all begins with this first part. The first thing that happens to shape your way you think is you get some information, right? Super basic, I know, but hold with me for a second. Sometimes we don't realize how much information is coming in that is turning us into a negative person. And sometimes information happens and we grab hold of it and make it more than it is. I mean, has anyone said to you in the last couple months, hey, it's not a big deal, calm down? If they had, it's because there's this information coming in and you're grabbing it in a specific way that's turning your mind towards negativity. And I know this sounds very, very basic, but I promise we have to start with what's coming in, right? It's just that old saying, garbage in and garbage out. So what I tell people, if you want to have a healthy mind, first and foremost, pay attention to the information that is coming in. What are you consuming? What are you looking at? What are you watching? What are you reading? Who are the people who are around you? All of that is shaping your mind, which I know you already know. Here's the question. When's the last time you did sort of an assessment or an analysis of the people and the information coming in? Like, what blogs are you reading a lot? What do most of your emails seem to say? Who are the people who are around you? What's the emotion and the energy and the information they're giving you? I know this sounds really crazy, but I am so controlling of that in my life. I don't have a lot of negative people who are always giving me negative information. I don't consume very much media at all. I don't watch horror films, or I don't consume a lot of information that just tends towards the negative at all. Not because I'm Pollyannish, because I understand how it's going to affect me long term. So pay attention to the information you have coming in. Second, as the ladder goes up, well, we get the information and then we interpret it one way or another. This is where obviously we know we see something, some information comes in, we interpret it as bad or good, positive, negative, something I need to interact with and react to or not. The challenge is most people take little pieces of information and they blow it up and they interpret it to mean something very personal and very negative. If you're in a place where you feel like you have a lot of arguments and fights, it's rarely about what's coming in, because we all deal with negative information or bad things, or the day gets interrupted. It's how do you interpret it? Then as we move up, we move to identity, right? This is, what did I see? What does it mean, positive or negative? Then it says, what does this mean about me specifically, right? And this is where people take things very, very, very personal. You know, someone comes in to work and says, well, I have some bad news. We're going to have to let some people go today. And then they interpret it. Oh my God, this company's going to fail. Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to quit. Oh my gosh, I might get fired. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen in the future? And then identity. Here it is again. I failed again. Here it is again. I never seem to get good things from me. Here it is again. I just don't seem like I'm deserving of anything. And people take things at a personal level into their identity over a period of time. Now you can see how this ladder is building, because negative information can come in, you interpret it negatively, and then you take it personally negatively. And this is what happens to people. They don't realize little simple things. Someone cuts you off in traffic. How do you interpret that? See, when someone cuts me off in traffic, I go, oh, well, they didn't see me. Or, they were trying to get ahead here. Other people, you know what they do. They're like, that son of a, and they get completely angry. They completely freak out. They say, all drivers are horrible. I hate this commute. This sucks. And then they say to themselves, they take it so personally, they say, you know what, I'm gonna get back at this person. I'm not gonna be wronged. I'm not gonna be disrespected. So they speed in front of them and cut them off, because they took someone passing in front of them to be what? Disrespect to who they are. Because they're a person who always feels disrespected. And if you always feel disrespected, what are your thoughts going to be like? So you see how all this is starting to build to how you feel, and then it shapes what you intend in the world. What are you going to do, right? Your mind is all focused towards this one simple set of questions. It's, what does all this information mean? How do I need to Pay attention to it, not pay attention to it. Important, not important. Good, bad. Then we take it to us. What does this mean to me personally? What does it say about me as a human? What am I dealing with here? And then it ultimately shapes our intentions. So the next time you find yourself in emotional craziness, or you feel really upset, or you're saying, I don't know why I'm thinking this way, you can step it back. What did I hear? How did I interpret that? What did it mean to me? What do I intend to do? Because all of that led to what you ultimately do, the initiative that you take in the world, right? What you're actually going to be doing. So here's the payoff. When you're doing things that you are not proud of, when you are doing things that you think like, I don't understand why I'm not taking more action. I don't understand why I keep beating myself up. I don't understand why I keep getting in fights with the people that I love. I don't understand why I can't stay more persistent towards my goals. If that ever happens, just take a pause and go, you know what? I need to think about what is happening here. Because it's the way that you're perceiving in the world that is controlling how much you progress in the world, right? And a lot of people, when they're having negative behavior, they just think it's happening to them. And I say, oh, let's just step it back. Okay, you were mean to your husband, okay? You found like you were really short with them. Where did that come from? And then we can just step it back. How are you feeling about yourself in that circumstance or that situation that led this way? What happened? What did your husband do? What did he not do? And how did you interpret it? And ultimately, what did you see or not see and experience? I know it sounds so basic, but try it. If you can work this through on a couple of different examples from your recent past, just think about those times when you really struggled or you didn't feel good, go through this, write it down, journal it, and you'll start to feel a lot more understanding about who you are and how your mind works.
All right, let's rock and roll. 5 steps to having more confidence in your life. Number 1, decide you need no reason whatsoever to be more confident. Just make the decision to be confident. You don't need a reason. You don't need 50 people to tell you you're amazing or you're beautiful or we love you. You just have to say, you know what, today I'm gonna lift my head up a little bit. You know, today I'm gonna give myself a little bit of credit. Today I'm just gonna be confident. I'm gonna walk into this room, I'm gonna stand tall as if I were an incredibly confident person for no other reason than that's my intention right now. That's it. That's the power of intention. It's the power of the self-directed human being that we just get to choose how we want to feel. You could be happy right now for no reason, right? For no reason at all. You could just say, you know what? I'm deciding to be happy in my life. You don't need 50 things to make you happy. Just sense the moment, feel grateful for life. You're good to go, right? We overcomplicate these things. We think we have to have, some big, long psychological story and build up to suddenly one day wake up and be more confident. No, we don't. We have to wake up one more day and say, today, I'm gonna be confident. Just like we decide when we wake up, have you ever had a day where you just crushed it? You got so much done, you were like, wow. At the end of the day, you're like, man, I just crushed it today. That happened because when you woke up in the morning, you said, I'm gonna get some stuff done today. You had the intention to be a productive human being that day. So why not set the intention to be a confident human being that day? Why not set the intention to be a loving person or an ambitious person or a fun person or a flirty person or a sexy person or whatever kind of person that you want to be? Just decide. You don't need a bunch of stuff. People really get this one wrong. And what happens is if you don't have the intention in the moment to say, I'm gonna be confident, I'm just gonna allow that to come up, I'm gonna feel that sense and feeling what confidence is for me and express that genuinely and real for myself, in the vacuum of intention arises impulse. And often from that impulse, through our brainstem comes worry, concern, fear, the paying attention to what is wrong so that we can fix it or flee or escape. Right? So we have to have the intention of who we are and what we're going to be. It begins with you simply deciding to be a confident person. Changed my life when I did that. I realized, and this was way back in college for me, I just thought, I want to be a confident person. How's that going to happen? Do I have to wait till I'm 50 after I've achieved everything? I've made some money or maybe people like me somewhere? Come on, get over it. We should get over our stuff and one day just realize real confidence is simply having the ability to genuinely express who we truly are and to pursue things that we truly desire. That's confidence. confidence doesn't have to mean you're leaping over tall buildings. Confidence means you're being who you are, authentically, for no other reason. No one gave you permission, you just decided to be who you are. You decided to chase your dreams. That's confidence, right? Believing in yourself and believing in where you're going, that's confidence. It doesn't take a whole lot of magic. That's confidence. From that decision to be confident just because we want to feel that sense of strength in our own bodies, that sense of energy and joy of expressing who we are and chasing what we want, everything rolls from there. You know, the human develops in its psyche. We develop a real sense of competence or confidence coming from a sense of integrity for ourselves. You know, integrity is, I know who I am and I am being that consistently. I know what I want and I am chasing that consistently. Integrity, being aligned with who you are, your values, your beliefs, and your dreams, having integrity, that gives us confidence in self, right? That our self can stand on its own and be itself and do what it desires. That gives us a sense of confidence. So how have you been doing that department? Have you been really demonstrating who you are to the world? Have you allowed yourself to do that? Because if you do that over a period of time, the self, and I would argue the soul, senses a coherence. You know, there's a cohesive sense of identity that comes from being consistent to the best of who we are. Confidence comes from that. And that too is will. It is decision. It is a desire to want to be a person of integrity and confidence. And that's where it stems from. I think if you decide to be confident, you have integrity in who you are being and what it is you're seeking in life and your values. I think the third one from there, it really comes down to competency. I mentioned that word earlier, competency, which means, you know, psychologists often call it the confidence competence loop. As you become more competent in something, you learn how to do it, you're more confident in doing it. As you learned how to ride a bike and you rode the bike more and more and more, you became more skilled at it. You developed more confidence in your ability to ride the bike. Any area of your life you're going to go into for the first time, be okay with being uncertain. Be okay with being uncomfortable. Be okay with not knowing how it's going to turn out because it's your first time. But stumble into it anyway, because as you stumble into it, you develop skill, you develop comfort with it. And then suddenly one day you wake up and say, I'm pretty confident doing this. Nothing changed in who you are. What changed is your level of competency, knowledge, skill, and ability. That's what competency is, knowledge, skill, ability, and talent. And so when we finally realize, oh wow, I just need to learn a little bit more here, I'll be more confident. I just need to apply this a little bit more here, I'll be more confident. As you develop skills and abilities in your life, in your unique areas, you become more confident. To do that, it requires the fourth thing. And that fourth thing is momentum. You know, momentum is key to confidence. When we stop having any momentum in our life, we often feel lost or confused or down, you know. We start losing that connection with our strength and our self. And so we have to take more action to develop more confidence. That means we have to say, what is it I truly want, and start moving towards it on a consistent basis before we know the whole plan often. You know, a lot of people think that your decision is your destiny. And sometimes I'm like, I don't know about that. A lot of people decide to lose weight. A lot of people decide to be a loving spouse. A lot of people decide to do something good, but they don't. It's disciplined action that is your destiny, right? And often, some of the best decisions in your life come after you have momentum at something, and then you've gained some more perspective, right? But a lot of us are waiting for the perfect plan, the perfect time, the perfect person, the perfect thing to pursue our goals or our dreams. And it's that waiting that often dampens our confidence, because we're at the external, we're sort of at the whim of the world a little bit. Maybe we get lucky, maybe that person comes in, maybe the funding comes through, whatever it is. We have to instead say, what can I do to begin this? What can I do now to begin? Because even if you begin and you're not sure, you don't have to know the whole path, right? Sometimes the whole stairway is not illumined until you take that first step, as we learned from Martin Luther King, right? It's like, what is that first? Sometimes it's that first step, and then the staircase emerges. Then we can see. And so for yourself, as soon as you take that first step, that says in your mind, hey, you know what? I took a step. Good for me. And then you start making better and better decisions because you're able to see more. Often you don't know where you're going in life until you start jogging towards something. Still just run in place, run somewhere. But as soon as you run, things open up to you. Say, oh, look at this, look at this, look at this. People often say, I wish I had more vision for my life, Brendon. I say, it's hard to have vision for your life if you've never seen anything. Get outside of the house, turn off the TV, turn off the computer, go see the world a little bit. You'll gain a little bit more vision. And with more vision and momentum towards the things you want, you will have more confidence. So he begins with deciding, really, you need nothing to be more confident. But if you need something, go with integrity. Be more of who you truly are. Chase what you truly desire. Be smart enough to know that you have to develop more competency at the things that you're interested in. More competency, more confidence. You have to realize, oh my gosh, there is no reason in the world that you cannot yourself, with very simple moves, gain more momentum. More momentum, more progress, more confidence. And finally, the fifth thing of confidence, community. We all need people around us who are supportive and positive and buoyant and who appreciate our sense of aliveness and joy and happiness in life. And if we don't have that, you can't sit there and be a victim. Oh, I just have a bad set of parents and I got a bad set of friends and I guess I'm destined to be around a bunch of nuts. No, go find a new peer group. Go to a seminar. Go to the church. Go to a volunteer meeting. Go get around people who are positive and who are amazing. A lot of people tell you, hey, you know what? Just get rid of all those negative people. Well, sometimes your negative people in your life are your mom or your dad or your lover or your spouse or one of your kids is just a little tyrant. You can't just open the door and say, get out of here, you little bastard. It doesn't work like that. It's not about cutting loose all the negative people, right? Of chopping off people and getting rid of them. Though maybe there are some people you need to say, I don't need to associate with this person as much in my life anymore. Or if I do, I don't need to get so hooked up and trapped into their pools of pessimism. What you have to do is say instead, okay, if I don't have the supportive peer group, let me go create that. Let me go find those people and get around them. Because as people are cheering you on, you gain more confidence. As people are saying, hey, you're doing a good job, you say, yeah, I am doing a good job. And you allow yourself to feel that sense of success and that sense of integrity when other people recognize it in you. Sometimes our greatest confidence has come from having a community of supporters. And so you don't have to wait for those supporters to show up. Go find them, go mix, go mingle, get outside of the house, live life again. As you do that, as you live life again, what do you notice? More integrity, more momentum, more competency, more good people. And suddenly that thing you were hoping one day you found confidence, no, one day you wake up and you created it.
The number one issue with being productive isn't that people usually don't know what to do with the day. It's that they look at it with dread and they accept that feeling and they stop. They go, I don't wanna. So they stop. Even though if they looked past the immediate dreadful activity and looked into the future about the benefits it would give them, if they could reconnect with that, they could push through. It's that when we get in the short term, just automatic feelings, automatic emotions that come up, those things, when they're not monitored consciously, and sometimes they're not overridden by a higher calling, a higher ambition to serve, a higher mission, then what ends up happening is we go, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll skip this one and, I'll get the workout in tomorrow, and then workout comes tomorrow, I'll get it in next Friday, and then it doesn't come in next Friday, and then I'll get the work in, the work doesn't happen, and we keep telling ourselves these stories, I'll do it when I feel like it. But I hope if one thing you've learned here is the power plant doesn't have energy, you need to generate the energy in which you need to excel and serve in this world. That's what I had to do last night. I had to generate the energy that I need to excel and serve on the stage. I had to make sure that today I felt my best.
This is my marathon that I get to do 8 times a year. This is what I train for. This is what keeps me sharp. We all have to have those things in our business or our brands or the things that we're being productive towards that push us, that challenge us. If you don't have 3 or 4 of those each year that are your form of business or productivity marathons, build them back in. Build in challenging expressions for yourself each year. Build them in. We all need our own marathon each year, whether that's a true running marathon or for me, this is it for me. And I got 8 of these a year that I build in that make me sharp. I don't need to do them. The better use of my time would just be doing more videos on the internets, more social media. But this pushes me. This demands excellence from me. When we talk about productivity today, I'm going to say, what is the things that are scheduled for you that demand you be great? Because if you don't have any of those, you'll never be great. You'll just do what's comfortable and easy. You got to have those milestone moments throughout the year in your business. Sometimes that means, okay, that's 3 weeks. I'm going to write my book in that 3 weeks. And you're just going to gear up for it and you're going to crush it. Sometimes that means that's when you're going to launch your thing. Okay, we're going to gear up and launch that thing. Sometimes that means that's when you do your executive retreat. You pull away all the executives, you meet with them, and that week is just like fire week for you. That's not, I don't mean fire them, I mean fire, you know. But you got to have those scheduled, otherwise you just go into homeostasis. You just kind of go through the days and go through the motions, and nothing is compelling you to reach and stretch and push. And if you don't have that, I'm telling you, it is hard to live a fully charged life. So you got to approach productivity now in a completely different way. First rule, don't think of productivity as something that you're doing just in a block of time. Think of your life as being a productively fulfilling life. That productivity is not a time management thing, it's a purpose thing. I don't think of time management when I think of productivity, I think of purpose. I think of who do I want to be? What do I want to contribute? What will be fulfilling for me? Because if you don't have something bigger than just blocks of time, which are important, but there's not something that we together are going towards where it's this set of dreams, where there's personal meaning and there is social contribution, we won't go. And you might write that down. You need both things as a mindset for productivity. Personal meaning, meaning you care about it, you like it, it's intrinsically valuable to you. You feel like me doing this is important because I like it, I enjoy it, it's important. That's personal meaning. The other aspect of productivity is social contribution. I have to see what I'm doing is going to matter to somebody. It's going to make a difference. And if we don't look at productivity that way, we'll just be like, it feels like a task. But if we can assign some meaning and social contribution to our tasks, everything can change. But ultimately, those things have to come together in something to be productive for. Like I'm like, what am I productive for? It took me a long time to figure that out for myself based on what I do. What am I productive for? Well, at the personal meaning ways, I'm productive because I want that vibrancy of being a creative human being. I want to be productive because I want to feel like I'm creating and expressing myself. That's the personal meaning for me. I also want to be a productive person because the social contribution. I want to feel that energy and that creativity, but I also want to feel like, you know what, my life mattered. Did I live? Did I love? Did I matter? Did I create some outputs? Did I create something or do something that helped somebody or moved the needle or made a difference or a contribution? This can be your day for personal growth. This can be that day you committed to and you remember and you go, That was the day I got myself a community. I got better coaches. I committed to making my life the absolute best that I could. This is that day. Make today your growth day. Click the button on this page and sign up right now.